All right, so for your 4.01B, for the 4.01B quiz, this was a question that was frequently missed. And I think the reason is that you have to do completing the square, which takes some time. It wants to know the radius of the circle, and we're given the equation in the general form. So let's see what we need to do. The first step here is to make sure that we get anything over to the right side, any constant over to the right side. So we're going to add 20 to both sides. What that's going to do is it's going to leave us, and we're also in this same step, we're going to group the x's and the y's together. So we're going to group x squared plus 10x, and then we're going to group y squared minus 4y. And then we added the 20, so we have it all equal to 20. Now what we're going to do is complete the square for the x's and then also for the y's. So when we do it for the x's, if you remember from the recording, if you haven't watched the full lesson recording, you'll want to go back and do that in order to be successful on this lesson. But we went over completing the square, and you take this middle, the term with x, the coefficient of x here, and you divide it by 2, and then you square it, and you add it to both sides. So we would take 10 over 2, which is 5, and then we square it. So 25. So what we're going to do is we're going to add it here with the x's. We don't have to add it by the y's because that's the same side of the equal sign, but we do add it with the 20 over here. So 20 plus 25. And then we do the same thing with the y's. We do negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2, squared, which is 4, turns into a positive 4. So we do add that to both sides. We group it with the y's on the left side, plus 4, and then we add it here on the right side as well. So now we're going to factor, and when we factor these perfect squares, you are just taking, just as a hint, I talked about this in the recording, but you are taking that b divided by 2, so that 5 in this case, or that negative 2 in this case, and you are just putting that next to x, and then you're squaring the whole thing. That's kind of the shortcut way to factor these. So you don't have to go through a bunch of actual, like really thinking through the factoring. These factor, the perfect square trinomials factor the same way every time. So you just take that number that you squared, and you put it next to x, and then you square the whole thing. And you can check yourself, you can distribute, FOIL this out, and it will work out. You'll see that it distributes right back out to what you had. Same thing here, we're going to do y minus 2, because negative 2 was the number that we got when we divided that coefficient of y by 2, and square it. And then you just take the whole right side there, adds up to 49. And remember, that's r squared. And that's good because they asked us for the radius. So this is r squared, which means that we take the square root of both sides. We get r equals 7. So the radius of this circle is 7. This one says, what is the equation of this circle in general form? You're not going to be able to really pick that out quickly by looking at a graph. You have to write it out in the standard or graphing form and then distribute. So the center is at negative 4 is the x coordinate and negative 5 is the y. So negative 4, negative 5 is the center. And then the radius, if you look here, you can look really any vertical or horizontal line from the center to the edge of the circle. It's 4. The radius is 4. We're going to write our equation based on this. That's your h, that's your k. It's x minus h, so minus a negative gives us plus 4 squared, plus y minus k minus a negative 5 gives us plus 5 squared, equals 4 squared. We're going to distribute this all out. You're going to FOIL with this x plus 4, and you can say FOIL or use distributive property depending on which way you learned it, but they're both the same thing. So we distribute, and when we do all that, we end up with x squared. Oh, it doesn't want to let me write down here. Hold on. x squared plus 4x, so plus 8x plus 16. And then plus, for the y's, same thing, y squared plus 5y plus 5y plus 10, or plus 25, excuse me. So the plus 5y's in the middle add up to plus 10y plus 25 equals 16. Remember, in general form, we get everything over to the left side. And then we put the x squared plus y squared in the front, and then x, and then y, and then the constant. So we're going to rearrange this a little bit. We got the x squared, we got the y squared. I always underline things as I'm going to make sure I don't forget anything. So plus 8x plus 10y. And then we have plus 16 plus 25, and then we subtract this 16 over to get rid of it so that it's equal to 0 on the right side. And when we do that, the 16's cancel out. So you end up with just x squared plus y squared plus 8x plus 10y plus 25 is equal to 0. And that is that first answer choice there.